Hi, Movie Decoder here. Today I'm going to explain a film based on the real-life story of the youngest warrior of World War called Soldier Boy. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins in Russia, where a family of 3 is relaxing by a river. Sergey Alyshkov, the youngest of the group, brags to his mother and older brother about being on top of a tree when suddenly German fighter jets swoop over. The mother asks her children to hurry up and run in the bushes, but the 6-year-old claims he is not scared and strikes the jet with a slingshot. To everyone's surprise, he hits the jets and causes them to burst. But when he turns to look around, his family has vanished. Fearful of a disturbing dream, Sergey wakes up and calls for his mother. As soon as someone knocks on his door, he assumes it is his mother and rushes to answer it. But a neighbor enters in a panic. She tells him that his mother and sibling are deceased and gives gratitude to God for keeping him alive. The young child, who finds it difficult to understand what she is saying, wants to wait for his mother inside the house. He is informed by the woman to flee since the Germans had attacked them. A group of soldiers suddenly approaches their home. Sergey is forced to leave via the window by the woman, but she is shot dead before she can follow him. As Sergey flees the house, the young 6-year-old is left all alone without friends or family. He notices the entire neighborhood on fire behind him. He unsuccessfully calls for his mother and then flees the area. He finally arrives in the midst of the woods after some time spent jogging. That night, the young child gets lost and spends the night in the bush, so he starts calling for his mother to come retrieve him. The next morning, while enemy soldiers are on their way, we observe him drinking water from a river. Sergey hastily hides inside a tree's roots after realizing they are harmful. When a snake approaches, he is terrified, but doesn't scream or flee. The troops terrify Sergey more than the snake. Sergey grabs the soldiers' leftover food and eats it for the rest of the night when they finish eating by the river and leave. The young youngster is worn out by the end of the day, though. He hasn't eaten properly in 2 days and has been wandering aimlessly. He stumbles while walking but doesn't stop. He stops to eat some wild berries he encounters along the route, but just then, an explosion surprises him from behind. The child becomes disoriented and begins to have visions of someone approaching from behind him. But despite these circumstances, he remains strong and tells the person he is not afraid since he has a gun. He moves forward with a limp, but eventually passes out. 2 soldiers approach him while he sleeps. The scene cuts to the Russian army base where Commander Kuznetsov waits for his patrol soldiers. They bring in a young child who is injured and frail. The young youngster speaks forward and announces himself when the soldiers say they are on his side. When the young boy shakes hands with the soldier and the commander suggests he identify himself as well, the soldiers chuckle. Soldiers approach a young child with tenderness and form a circle around him. Even the chilly commander takes care of the child by forcing him to drink water and feed him. Sergey's wounds are attended to by a nurse named Kata, who is also enchanted by his charisma. Even the wounded troops chat with the little soldier and feel better since he wants to be a soldier when he grows up and asks her to draw a tank on his injuries. The commander's gun in his batch captivates Sergey. All of the young boy's inquiries are answered by Commander 2, who also allows him to use his honorary pistol. After removing the bullets, Sergey boasts about being a soldier and displays the tank that is sketched on his stomach. Although the youngster is recovering swiftly, the commander refuses to let him stay with the unit, stating that it won't be safe. Instead, he wants to send Sergey to an orphanage. All of the troops' free time is spent with Sergey. He receives a lot of visitors all day long. They also let him use their binoculars while bringing him food that was provided to him from afar by their relatives. One day, a soldier approaches the commander and requests permission for the boy to remain with the regiment. The troops form a strong bond with the child and view him as one of their own. The commander is determined about transferring the youngster to the orphanage for his own safety, yet his presence eases their burden of war. The next day, the enemy attacks, inflicting great casualties on the men. Sergey is picked up by a car and driven to the orphanage. The commander tells the child the news and presents him with a wooden honorary pistol. The child hugs the commander back and says he's worried for his safety. The commander changes his mind as he is being held by Sergey and asks him to stay with the soldiers as his son. The troops search for child army attire for the young lad that evening. They are ecstatic that Sergey will be staying with them. Sergey is awakened by the commander, who also hands him the clothing. He moves about with them on and appears to be a real soldier. As the youngster runs around, the others begin to refer to him as their little military boy. The soldiers hurriedly transfer Sergey to a safe location and engage the enemy, while the Germans attack the battalion from the air. Sergey gives water to thirsty soldiers because he wants to be useful, as the number of injured soldiers rises quickly. One of them, who has a bandage covering his eyes, requests him to read a letter from his family. Despite not being able to read, the young youngster wants to assist. He takes the letter and begins fabricating the contents, saying that the soldier's cow is secure at home. The others advise the soldier to join in the joke and laugh when he claims he doesn't have a cow. In the next scene, he reads everyone else's letters in the same way and cheers them up. The commander and Keita can be seen talking. Despite not admitting it, the two appear attracted to one another. Later, Sergey introduces himself as an orderly and informs the commander that he belongs to the battalion's orderly position. The young youngster then witnesses one of the stationed soldiers being annihilated by the attack. The commander instructs him to remove his hat in honor of the fallen soldier. He insists that the commander give him work the following day and is given the assignment to distribute the letters to the soldiers. He skillfully completes his assignment and even gets the warriors to dance. The next day, while playing with his binoculars, Sergey ventures a little beyond the base. He notices movement coming from a haystack and sees a leg. He quickly returns to the unit and briefs the men on his discoveries. Despite their skepticism, the troops accompany the youngster. However, they are warned to look out for two German agents who are hiding underneath as they get close to the haystack. The spy is applauded for his intelligence, and the spies are captured. The adoption papers are presented to Sergey that evening by the captain. He's now recognized as the child's father. Sergey takes the commander to confess to Keita because he is aware of the commander's emotions for her. However, the two mistakenly believe she is interested in someone else when they witness her talking to a different man. The Germans launch another assault on the base. This time, Sergey gives the troops his best by giving the soldiers in the front line ammo, but they order him to return to the shed since it is too hazardous outside. The commander and others are frantic when he arrives at the shed because the phone's connection with the colonel has been lost. A soldier is dispatched to repair the damaged lines. The soldier is being followed by Sergey, and Sisi has been fatally wounded. In order to mend the wires, he approaches the dead soldier and asks for advice. The 6-year-old saves everyone's life when the connection is restored, and more troops are dispatched. Later, we observe Keita and the commander conversing by the river. Eventually, the commander tells her he loves her and begs her to be Sergey's mother. Before Keita can say anything further, a soldier approaches them and hands the commander a letter stating that they have been sent from the base. Keita is over the moon at this point. The next day, Sergey and all the soldiers depart for their new base. But on the route, they come across a minefield, which causes some of their vehicles to blast off. The group's orderly, who Sergey was close to, perishes in the explosion while the commander is injured. He sobs while hugging the commander. They carry the wounded people along as they make their way to their new base. When they get to the second base, they encounter the commander's boss. The general commends the commander for having such a bright child, since he too is pleased by the youngster's ambition. The youngster makes a commitment to defend his country when the general hands him his badge the day after their division receives a guard's banner. The commander is imprisoned beneath the rubble after their base is ruthlessly attacked one night. Sergey begs his father to be saved while sobbing for him. The other troops respond to his request by bringing the commander outside. Sergey approaches a wounded commander the following day. His hands were hurt while attempting to save the commander. The youngster is now an indispensable member of the group. He travels wherever they go in the fight without a family nearby. The movie ends as the regiment is seen moving to another base. A voice in the background narrates that he even took part in the Stalingrad battle and reached Poland with the soldiers. He is currently known as the world's youngest soldier ever, and the legendary story of his bravery is now spread for the whole world to hear. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. If you have any suggestions for future movie analysis topics, leave us a comment down below. We love hearing from our viewers and appreciate your support. Thank you for watching.